On April 14, 2025, the clear skies over West Texas became the backdrop for what was promoted as a revolutionary moment in private spaceflight. Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket, designated NS-31, launched with a crew of 6 women, an all-female flight that instantly grabbed global attention. This wasn't just another suborbital mission. This was a media spectacle from the start. Among the passengers was none other than global pop superstar Katy Perry. As the rocket lifted off the launch pad with a roar, mainstream news outlets broadcast the event live, and headlines poured in, celebrating the historic nature of the mission. Blue Origin emphasized inclusivity, empowerment, and the symbolic value of sending an all-women crew into space, marketing it as a powerful statement about progress and representation in science and exploration. The New Shepard flight followed its typical suborbital profile. The booster separated cleanly from the capsule after crossing the Kármán line, considered the edge of space, at around 100 kilometers above Earth. Inside the capsule, the crew floated in microgravity for roughly 4 minutes, experiencing weightlessness and gazing at the curvature of the Earth. The entire flight lasted about 11 minutes from launch to landing, culminating with a parachute-assisted descent onto the Texas desert. Inside the sleek cabin, designed for comfort and visibility, the passengers laughed and floated, capturing the surreal moment on cameras installed throughout the interior. Katy Perry, wearing a custom blue flight suit, could be seen beaming in post-launch footage, her expressions going viral on social media within hours. Blue Origin framed it as a defining chapter in the democratization of space, a moment that blended technological achievement with cultural relevance. But while the mission was painted as a celebration of female empowerment and civilian access to space, not everyone was buying it. Almost immediately, criticism began to surface. Commentators, journalists, and social media users raised uncomfortable questions. Was this mission a genuine leap forward for humanity, or just another carefully choreographed billionaire-backed publicity stunt? Many argued that the inclusion of celebrities diluted the scientific value of space travel, reducing what should be a research-driven effort into a form of extreme tourism. While Blue Origin insisted that it was about opening space to more people, critics labeled NS-31 a vanity flight. Environmentalists pointed out the carbon footprint of rocket launches, especially those that serve no scientific or technological development purpose. Economists and political analysts chimed in, noting that the mission took place during a time of global financial strain, rising inflation, and increasing wealth disparity. It didn't help that Katy Perry was seen boarding the capsule in designer aviator shades, waving to cameras as if she were stepping onto a red carpet instead of a spacecraft. Talk shows and late-night comedians mocked the mission's brevity, highlighting that the 6 passengers spent less time in space than most people spend waiting in a drive-through line. And then there was Katy Perry herself, arguably the most polarizing element of the entire launch. While her fans celebrated her boldness and adventurous spirit, others saw her presence as a textbook example of how celebrity culture often hijacks meaningful platforms. Her inclusion drew comparisons to reality show gimmicks and influencer campaigns. The message, critics argued, had shifted from space for all to space for the rich and famous. Social media lit up with mixed reactions. Some users posted memes calling it Space Vegas, while others launched full-blown threads about the ethics of sending pop stars to space, while scientific researchers remained grounded due to budget cuts. For her part, Perry didn't stay silent. During a concert stop on her Lifetimes tour just days after the mission, she paused mid-set to talk directly to her audience about the criticism. With emotion in her voice, she spoke about her childhood dream of going to space, the power of believing in impossible things, and the strength it takes to stand in the face of public scrutiny. She said the experience changed her, not just because of the view, but because of what it forced her to confront about courage, purpose, and backlash. As the noise around NS-31 continued to swell, deeper conversations began to emerge. What does it mean when space, once the domain of scientists and astronauts, becomes a playground for billionaires and influencers? What are the ethical implications of investing billions in space tourism when so many on Earth still struggle to access clean water, basic healthcare, or education? Supporters of the mission argued that normalizing civilian spaceflight is a necessary step toward expanding humanity's reach beyond Earth. They claimed these flights are the equivalent of the Wright brothers' first plane ride, short, criticized, but historically necessary. Detractors, however, saw it differently. They argued that celebrating a short, non-scientific joyride as groundbreaking distracts from more meaningful advancements in space tech and trivializes the sacrifices of astronauts and researchers who risked everything to expand human knowledge. Still, one cannot deny the influence NS-31 had on public discourse. It ignited debates about who gets to go to space, who funds the journeys, and what messages are sent when celebrities become the face of exploration. Blue Origin remained firm in its messaging, insisting that NS-31 was just one step in a larger plan to make space more accessible to everyone. But the mission also forced them to acknowledge that accessibility without meaning can quickly slide into spectacle. The blending of science, entertainment, and commerce is no longer theoretical. It's happening in real time. The NS-31 mission was undeniably a cultural moment, a confluence of technology, celebrity, corporate power, and public skepticism. Whether remembered as a breakthrough or a blunder, it exposed the growing pains of an industry straddling inspiration and image. And as humanity pushes further toward a future among the stars, the way we frame these stories, who we send, why we send them, and how we tell the world will ultimately determine whether space becomes a shared dream or a gated frontier for the privileged few.